Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, so what are we talking about today? The title was Thinking Chassidus, right? So why that title? Because the Rebbe Rashab, the first thing that comes to mind with the Rebbe Rashab is being truthful. He very much demanded with the Bachrim called being a pnimi, which is you meet someone, you say, what do you do? What you do doesn't necessarily in any way express who I am. What they say, how they think, that's a different story. So there's a big emphasis in the Rebbe Rashab's, in my Morim, it's a thought. There's a lot of deep thought. So I'm going to pick one topic. But before we go into the topic, I think we should spend 6 minutes, 7 minutes discussing what is thought. What does it mean to think? Like, what does it mean to think? People say, I'm thinking, like by matzis, so you have to have people thinking l'shem matzis mitzvah. That's a fabricated thought. That's not how I think. That's what I'm thinking. So let's give an example of what thought means before we go into a thought process. What does it mean? What does it mean to think? So a nice example I once saw, and it goes like this. And I actually used it this week when I had Pekisha over. So we had a Farbrengen, and I asked them the following question before I get to that. So what's thought? Let's say you have a plumbing issue in the house. A plumbing issue in the house. The drain is stuff. Who do you call? Plumber. You call a plumber to fix it. So here is what thought is. Does anybody think maybe I should call a doctor? Maybe I should call a mathematician? The thought doesn't even enter the head because my mind automatically shouts out plumber. That's called thought pattern. That's called that my train of thought actually thinks this problem is attributed to plumber. I don't have to have a process to come to that conclusion. That's called a real thought. That's how I think. So I had over Pekisha students. So I asked them, I said, when you walk down the streets, you're coming down to this place called Crown Heights. And you see Chassidim walking down the street. What's the first thought that comes to mind when you see these people called Chassidim? Like, what's the first thought that comes? And I explained my question. I said, I once went to Amish Town. I came to Amish Town, went with a family. You're sitting in a horse and wagon. And someone in that wagon, it's not only me, asked me, he thought I'm Amish. So he started asking me questions about the town. He said, no. I'm a visitor here. I'm not Amish. And then it hit me. You can see, but you don't see. You can see someone, but you don't really see them. So the question is, what do you see? You can be in Crown Heights and see someone. You can be in front of a friend and see someone. What do you see? What's the first thought that comes to mind as a description of this individual? So I asked them. I said, when you see a chassid, when you see these people, one of them said ultra-orthodox. One of them said very strict. One of them said l'chaim. One of them said a yid. The bottom line is, to test the thought, you have to see the first thought that comes to mind. What do I think? Not what I'm supposed to think, not what I want to think, not what I should think, but what I do think. So I want to discuss in thought, take one topic, see what we think about it, and how we can leave thinking differently. It's a topic that's discussed a lot. And Rav Nissen Nemenov is a big mashpia, and he used to always say, the way to explain something is not to verbatim repeat it, but it's to find good examples that can somehow bring that idea across another world and bring it to another person with another vision. And I'll give you an example for that, just to bring this out before we start, because it's so important that when we think, we don't mix up what we want to think with how we think. So otherwise we're going to kill the whole thing of thought. Thought is meant to be an honest exercise, not a badge of honor exercise in the sense of showing off what I'd like to know, what I do know. It's an honest exercise. It's like a surgeon who has to surgically find out what's really going on here. Thought cannot be confused with speech. Speech, you can talk what you want. You can say what you want. Thought has to be my thought. It cannot be someone else's thought. That's not thought. Thought is a brutally honest game. So there's another example to bring this out before we go into the world of thought. There were children learning math. And you know, children come from the world. We actually say the word world. There's a world called touch and feel. Touch and feel. Then there's a world called seichel. Let me articulate this. You ask a child, how do you know the table exists? Because you can touch it. You can touch it. Sometimes they bite things. They have to feel it. But for a child to break out of the world of touch and feel and enter the world of logic takes time. Let me give you an example. You ask a child, do you want one candy today or two candies tomorrow? A lot of children will say one candy today. So I don't know what tomorrow is. Don't tell me about tomorrow. The space of tomorrow is abstract. Someone who has logic, the space of tomorrow is real. It's real today. Logic has a reality because it understands tomorrow. It's as real as touch and feel. So tomorrow is real. You have to enter the world of logic to understand that. It's two worlds. So there's a good example brought down. There were once two children learning math, learning the world of logic. And the teacher is trying to teach them 1 + 1 is 2. So the teacher gives them an example. You have one apple and one apple. 2 apples together is 2. Amachaya, the children will say 2, and today they all have to say it. They like Bekil Zidmil, together 2, 2, 2. It's like a whole choir. The teacher for sure understands. They all got it. They all said 2. They said it. They said the right answer. The next day he has the principal come to test the children to see what. So the principal says, I have 2 bananas. 1 banana, 1 banana. How many bananas do I have? Silence in the room. Dead silence. Teacher's frustrated. What's going on? Teacher says, maybe they didn't hear me. He says it louder. 2 bananas. Look, 2. Silence. The teacher looks to the smartest kid in the room. Tell him, please. So the student stands up and the student says, with all due respect, Mr. Principal, we only learned about apples. We never learned about bananas. We only know about apples. Logic has a world. You can see a banana and you can see an idea. You're seeing the same banana, but you're seeing an idea. To see an idea, once you see an idea, you see it all over. You see it in apples, you see it in oranges, you see it in pears. Chassidus has a lot of ideas. Too often, we stick with the apples and oranges, and we don't relegate it across the board. Chassidus can talk about the relationship of a Yid and the Eibishter. And we're like, yeah, it's so amazing how that mimer talks about relationship between the Yid and the Eibishter. No, they're talking about relationship. It's also between father and child. It's also between friend and friend. Happens to be talking about Eibishter. But if you're going to get that idea, you're going to see it all over. And when you see it all over, you can then you actually understood it. If you don't see it all over, you actually did not understand it. Just like the child who saw the apples and the oranges and didn't see the idea. To really see the ideas that we talk about, we have to be able to see them across the board. So I want to talk about one idea today. Start with one idea and hopefully leave that we should at least say to ourselves, yes, it does exist across the board, and hopefully leave with a kernel of a thought how it exists across the board. An idea goes like this. So the Rebbe often sends us for motivation to a certain chapter in Tanya. And he sends us, it's like a 3/4 of a page. And many people just read it. We all read it. And it doesn't seem motivational, if we're honest. And the word in the chapter is Perek Mem Aleph. 41, chapter 41 of Tanya. Whenever people have a lack of perseverance, a lack of commitment, a lack of energy to do something difficult, they feel like it's too much, the Rebbe sends us to this parak. But if we look at the theme of that parak, it's anything but enthusiastic. It's not energetic. It actually is pretty. It's more like in the scary part. It's more like how does that give me any enthusiasm? And the topic of Perek Mem Aleph is Yira. Now, if we're going to be honest in our minds, I'll ask you one question in the beginning of this thought process and one question in the end. The word Yira sounds scary or beautiful? It sounds more scary than beautiful. It sounds more scary than motivating. Let's leave from Perek Mem Aleph with one thought that can actually be beautiful and actually be motivating. And how can we see that not only in Perek Mem Aleph, but like the apples and oranges, how can we see that across the board in a relationship with a friend, in a relationship with a parent, in a relationship with any, because the relationship of the Eibishter is not only Eibishter, it's a relationship. It's the same emotions that we have to relate to Eibishter, the same emotions we have to relate to another. So if we're going to say something in Eibishter, it's got to also be in people. And the question is, how can we somehow make sense out of that chapter and turn it into beautiful, into motivating, into actually a thought process which can uplift me when it's hard to do something? Where am I seeing that? What does he say over there that's so uplifting? What does he say over there that's so motivating? That's what we like to do today. Fair enough? So let's jump in. I'm going to jump in like this. So usually when two people meet and two people want to connect, saying the word relate. So you say the Eibishter relate, people relate. I want to talk about the word amazing. People say he's amazing, she's amazing, the person is amazing. I want to leave with two translations of amazing. Amazing in Hebrew is gadlus.
What is it?
Gadlus, greatness. I'm just saying amazing because that's the word we use. If I say greatness, that's not necessarily the word that we use in common language. I'm trying to bring words in English. Gadlus, the gadlus of a person, the gadlus of the Eibishter. We say greatness. So there's two ways of saying the word amazing. And there's two ways how we use it. We usually actually mostly in one way. And maybe this parak of Tanya is going to share with us a new way how to call someone amazing. And if we find that amazingness, it's really amazing. It's beautiful. There's some amazingness that are nice, and there's some that are beautiful. And the Alter Rebbe here is articulating a unique kind of amazingness that's beautiful. So let's go to the ordinary amazing, and then to the beautiful amazing. What's the ordinary amazing? So two people meet and say, this person's amazing. Really, just so amazing, so nice. I really like that. What do they mean by that? So the way it works is every single person has their taste palette. They have a taste palette. They have things that they like, characteristics that they like, whatever it may be, tastes. We have our taste. And when a person finds their taste, they say amazing. Why do they say amazing? Because it tastes good. So what you're saying is you found a tasty moment. That's what we usually say, the word amazing. And it's not amazing when it doesn't taste good. It tastes sour. It's not my taste, not my type, not my kind. That's basically saying not the amazing self that I'd like to find there. That's how we create and develop connections throughout life, based on my taste bud. And by the way, this is also with parents. What do I mean with parents? Not every expression of affection from a parent to a child is the parental affection. Often it's what I find amazing in my child. And I can also find moments that are not so amazing in my child, even though they're my child. And I'll feel myself less tasty in that moment. This is the nature of amazing. Amazing means my taste. And that's beautiful. And that's how people connect. That's how people for connections, relationships, etc., etc. What's the problem? The challenge is very simple. The challenge is what happens when you're going to inevitably realize that you also have in this other person other things. There are other tastes there. There are other things going on there. It's challenging because the definition of tasty is my taste. I'm going to feel less when it's not my taste. So it's very challenging. As a matter of fact, it can sometimes cause a disruption to the relationship. And by the way, I once shared this thought, and there was a lady there. There was a lady who was a shatchonis, and I actually tried this out a few times, and she said something brilliant. And she said, when she used to have, I guess she had like a class of ladies, and she gave them an exercise. As a parent, it's a pretty amazing, it's a brilliant exercise. She said she asked the parents, write down what you see amazing in your child, and write it in the order of preference that you feel is more important. Like she shines, and this thing is like her main mila, her main virtue. Number two is number two. Number three is but put it in the order that you feel important. And have your child write on a different paper her milas that she sees in herself in the order that she thinks is important, reflecting herself.
Important, or which one she expresses the most?
Her sense of importance. Everybody has their, everybody says, I know I have 10 miles, but this is really where I feel myself. This is really where I express myself. This is where I shine. This is this is where I toot my horn, if you wish. And it didn't match. And often didn't match. And why did it match? Because it can't match. How many times, it's a beautiful thing in people, how many times do people say, I know you so well? And then you think, really? If only you would know X, Y, Z. You don't know. You know the things that you know. You don't really know. You can only taste that which you taste. You can only see that which you see, but you don't really see the other. You don't really connect to the real other. Comes along the Alter Rebbe in the previous chapters before this chapter and says that definition of connecting to people based on their amazingness, because you appreciate something in them, that will stop. That will have a disruption. It's inevitable. There's going to be a moment where you're going to realize there's a new mila that I realize in this person. There's something that I discovered, and that doesn't talk to me. It's going to inevitably happen because you can't clone yourself. And that area, you'll feel less inclined to connect. And you might even find something that doesn't talk to you. And you'll be torn because you realize that this person also has another place that totally doesn't talk to you. even though that does talk to you, because people are so complicated. People have life experience. We're so multi-layered and colored and so many things to us that just because you found one thing, it's like coming to an island and finding one thing. That doesn't mean you know the whole island. Columbus discovered America. There's a whole universe out there. And you're going to discover that new America one day. Because not everything is amazing. By definition, the word amazing means some things are amazing, not everything. So what do you do when you encounter the real other? That's the moment when the passion that we had in the beginning will not be the same, cannot be the same. But we are told that the connection to the Eibishter should be in the lashon of the Mishnah, kala k'machamura. We're supposed to have the same enthusiasm for the things we do appreciate like the things we don't appreciate. How in the world can it be possible? I'm human. I have my sense of appreciation. So teach me how to appreciate everything. That's this parak. This parak is coming to teach us a new method. Says the Alter Rebbe, I want to teach you. I'm going to introduce to you a new way how to relate to people. And that way will open up a new world. You're going to be able to have the same enthusiasm, not only the same, but to everything about the other, to the real other, and the other will feel it, and then it's going to reciprocate back. It's a new channel of connecting to someone. This is this parak, opening up a new way to connect. What's that way? So what do we? Let's just summarize what we said until now. What do we say? We brought out a challenge. Till now, there's the regular way of connecting, the regular way of greatness, that I see something that I like in someone. But that leaves us with a challenge, because it's inevitable there's going to be a moment that I'm going to discover something that doesn't talk to me. And that moment will be a tough moment and rip into my relationship and my connection. How do I answer that? That is what we're discussing right now. How do I answer that moment? How do I bring myself to use that moment not as a descent and not as a lowering my connection, but actually to open up a new connection, and that's going to be actually this parak. Parak Mamalot opens up a new way I say the word great, and so it's actually going to be beautiful, because the moment we realize that, we say, wow, those relationships that we encounter and we see that, we actually say the word beautiful. We don't say the word only amazing, we say beautiful. Amazing could be amazing. There's a lot of amazings, and then there's amazings that are beautiful. Beautiful means there's some kind of oxymoron going on up here that makes it beautiful. There's some kind of two colors mixing that make it beautiful. One color is not beautiful. Two colors mixing makes it beautiful. There's something going on up here that you live saying, ah, that's beautiful. What is it? So the idea goes like this. A beautiful moment, I'm going to say the way it is. A beautiful moment and a real moment is a moment that a person says, I'm going to say these words. The moment a person is going to say, I don't appreciate, I'll never appreciate. I'm going to say words that don't make sense, and let's see if they can make sense. I'm actually sitting in front of someone that I realize for the life of me, I'm never, ever going to really get them. Never. Not possible. And that's going to bring actually beautiful moments. The moment I realize that. Now, what does that mean?
Then you're never going to what?
I'm never, ever going to really get them. You know, sometimes you say, I get someone. I really get them. I really understand them. I really appreciate them. So we're going to start the other way around. The ability to start off a connection, to start off a relationship, to start off a connecting to a someone, not by saying I know them, but by saying the opposite. I'm never, ever going to really know them, because people are really worlds apart. The truth of the matter is, you never really know the other. You know some. The ability to start off saying, I'm never, ever going to really know them. As a matter of fact, the more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know about them. They're worlds apart. I'm going to call them, they're like a king. What's a king? The word king means there's something there I'll never achieve. There's something there that's a world that's not my world. And I recognize that not that soon I'm going to get to know it. And not that within a certain amount of time I'll get to know them better and I'll get to know everything of them. But I start off saying they are a separate person. They always will be. And there's going to be things about them that I'll never, ever understand. For example, a child. A child is playing with toys on the floor. No one's going to go to the child and say, come on, do a math problem. Grow up. Why are you playing with the Legos? You're playing with a toy truck. Let me give you a math problem. No one's going to say that. Because there's a childish world that you have to respect is a childish world and will always be right now. In this that is going to be a child. The ability to identify the gap that exists and say that is a real gap. And I'm never, ever going to. I'll give you a few examples to bring this out before we even continue. You know the hardest thing is when you know something and you want to learn it again. Why? But it's also the most beautiful thing. Because if you do it, you suddenly leave realizing how endless knowledge is. And it opens up a whole new floodgates of knowledge. But why do I not want to read something that I already know? Because I say the word I know. I know is actually the most damaging thing to know. The word I know is the most damaging sentence in the journey of knowing. Because it stops you from really knowing. Because when you say the word I know, you're not really open and curious to know. You're basically announcing, I know. But that's not what knowledge is. Knowledge is the journey of hunger, a sponge to collect knowledge. And that hunger attaches you to the knowledge. So the ability to say, I don't know, but I want to know. Tell me more. Actually helps you know. It connects you to knowledge in a whole different way. They say the smart Alex say, I know, and the geniuses say, I don't know. They're not interested in saying, I know. They just announce that they know. They're interested in really knowing. Approaching people and saying, I know what I know. I appreciate what I appreciate. But there's so much more to the person that I don't know, and I'm willing to explore and listen. I'm not walking in with I appreciate, I have my understanding. Forget about what I know about this person. This person is a world of their own. This person has their way of thinking. I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to assume. Often before the other person says something, you know, you see these conversations that a person says something and you already guess what they say, and then you have an answer. Often in conversations, people are not talking. What happens is when the person's talking, I'm thinking how to respond. So it's basic, and then when they say something, then they say, you didn't even hear what I said. I did hear I heard what I wanted, what I thought that you were going to say, and I already had an articulated response. So no one is listening. The second definition is the ability to actually put yourself aside and pay attention to the real other. The real foundation to that is the ability to recognize they are a other. They're not mine. Often when we know someone, we kind of own them. I know them. Stop. And that's very, very hard. Because the more you know, the more you actually do know. So it's hard to say I don't know. Because when you really know someone, you actually know them. You do know them. You know your child. You know your real friend. The ability to say it in the most knowing moments, I don't know, that's the moment the real connection is born. The ability to say about your best friend, about your deep connection to your child, I don't know. I actually don't know something. I'll never know. But for sure I know. I don't know. That allows you to know. That allows you to see. That allows you to see for real. That allows you to explore. That allows you to connect. And that's the moment the real connection is born. Because it's born because suddenly there's something beautiful here in the fact that you came to the realization that the other person has a life. They're not just involved with you. They have a life. And they have their own life. The ability for you to see that is the moment a real connection is born. And that is the moment suddenly I can appreciate them in a whole different way. Says Tanya, the following line. Says Tanya, the following line. The Eibishter is great. What's great? Great means that I'm never going to ever know him. Tanya says, you know the way to relate to the Eibishter? Yeah, I have mitzvahs. I have mitzvahs to do. So I have mitzvahs that I appreciate. Maybe stock is something that I appreciate. It makes sense. It's a mitzvah that I appreciate. There are mitzvahs that I don't get. Lulav. You shake a lulav. I don't know. I wouldn't come up with that. I wouldn't come up with that. The Eibishter gave that. I don't think anybody comes up with that, right? But the Eibishter's mitzvah. So where does enthusiasm for that come from? Says Tanya, the enthusiasm comes from the recognition, I don't know him. And the Eibishter, it's easier for us to say it, but it actually is the same foundation. And it's a beautiful thought. It goes like this. I know him. The guy is weird. Sorry for my English, my French. He has a different sense of humor. You know, sometimes you sit in front of someone and he has a different wavelength of thought. And it forces you to stop, pause, and say, how does this person think? How does he come to conclusions? Where does his thoughts come from? So the ability for me to say, pause. This Eibishter, me to start off saying, I appreciate, I don't appreciate, the greatness in my connection to him is the ability for me to recognize I'm never going to get him. But I know that he likes that. It's like, you know, it's like two friends, and I once learned with this boss of a company, and he tells me he only hires non-Jewish executive assistants. I said, why? So he says like this. He says a Jewish person comes in, and he tells them he needs a coffee, and he likes 4 spoons of sugar. That's what he likes, 4 spoons of sugar. She comes in with the 4 spoons of sugar. You should do 3. You should do 3. It's just not healthy for you. Boss, this week we'll do 3. We'll get you next week 2.5. And by 2 weeks, we're going to get to 2, which is not healthy. He says, I don't need people who care. I need people who listen. I need them to listen to my work. I need them to get things done. The ability to see there's a gap between me and him, I'm never going to get him, allows me to really listen. My child wants something. All too often, I'm going to judge that, an adult, teenager, I'm going to judge that one based on what I appreciate. The ability to stop and listen to wants of others comes from one foundation. Stop my taste. Pay attention to their taste. The ability for me to listen in a conversation. The ability for me to be present in any moment of life is the ability to realize number one, we are worlds apart. Pay attention. No, but I really know what they're saying. No, you don't. It's really hard to say to the I know that I don't know. But that is where relationships start. The moment you realize there are worlds, there's a gap. The gap exists. That allows me to pay attention. And that allows me to actually listen to the details, and the other feels it. And suddenly I can relate to them in a different level. Suddenly they open up to me in a different level. Real listeners are real conversations, have real connections. That is the root to it. So the amazingness is not in the fact that I know. It's in the fact that I came to the realization that I don't know. I'll never know. I can live with someone for 90 years and I'm never going to know them. I'm going to know part of them, but I'm always going to have that recognition they are another. That is going to start. That is going to push the connection. And without that, you're not going to have the connection. Says the Alter Rebbe and continues, and he says the second part. And that actually gives me an appreciation to every single detail. And I thought of a nice example to bring this out. You have to think of examples. I thought of a nice example. You know, last year, there was a war in Eretz Yisrael. 12-day with Iran. So the reports say there were 200 pilots that flew that morning, right? 200 pilots. Eretz Yisrael sent 200 pilots over to Iran. Now, if you read the reports, these pilots were trained for years for these kinds of missions. They actually trained for years. The fact that they woke up that morning to do it, they didn't just wake up that morning, and it wasn't just months before. It was years. One of them, I remember reading. One of them, he says, when he came into the Air Force, he was a chatchila tone. He has to train for a mission of one day they're going to have to attack Iran. That was years before. So you're talking about people that the whole life they trained. Think for a second. Imagine one pilot wakes up that morning and he says, "I'm 1 out of 100 out of 200." Just what is a statistic? It's a 0.1%. It's a 0.5% of all the pilots. And I'm not gonna. I can't fly. I have a headache. I have a stomach ache. I can't fly that morning. Why is he not going to do that? So I want to say the following line: the motivation of the pilots was from what they don't know, not from what they do know. And I'll explain. You ask the pilot, "What do you know about this mission?" He's going to say, "I have to attack this corner," because he knows when he's going to bomb this, that has an after effect that they can't launch, and then these people on ground can do this. There was a whole sequence of events, and he knew there's a sequence of events, but he didn't know what it is. So when he's going to say, or let's say he's going to fly, and he's going to say, "I don't want to do one bomb. I'm going to do only this. I don't want to be so much. I don't think this is so important." There's no say. I don't really understand the full importance of every detail, and that actually makes it important. Because I know there's a commander-in-chief that has the full plan, and he wants that detail. The gap between me and that commander, and the fact that I'm never, ever going to understand that, I don't know, that makes every detail important, because the moment I realize it's coming from his head, and it's coming from his wand, that develops in me a certain cherish that every day. This could be the grand slam detail for the whole, who knows, for the whole thing. And that's how the pilots took off. They took off with a certain reverence for because they knew that says Tanya, that's similar to the mitzvahs. When you take a mitzvah, there's two ways of looking at a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah that I appreciate. There's a mitzvah that I less appreciate. But then there's a whole different ball game. I'm never going to understand. What do I understand? What do I appreciate? The fact that this is a commander, the fact that this is someone, and he wants it. I don't know what this is going to accomplish for someone, for the Eibishter. So that creates a certain sense of appreciation, even in the details that I don't appreciate. That's in regards to the Eibishter. So there could be, let's say, lulav. I don't understand. Do I understand stucco? I don't understand anything. So I'm based on his understanding. It's like the pilot with every single detail. So every single detail has the same reference. So you can wake up with the same detail of the lulav, with the same detail, like the stucco. It makes no difference. It's all the same thing. And it's the same thing in relationships. The moment I realize it's not about what I like, it's not about what I appreciate, but it's about the smile of the other. It's about what's going to make them tick, what's going to make them feel good. I don't care what it is for the moment for me. The fact that I appreciate it now a little bit, or I appreciate it now a little bit more, I want their smile. I'm not looking for what I get out of it. This is what my child likes. The moment I tune in, two people go on a hike. One person wants to go on the scenic. One person wants to go people go on a trip. One person wants to go on scenery. One person wants to go bowling. Each one has a different nefesh, different thing that they want to do. So if you just judge based on taste palette, one of them is going to feel like he's losing out. He's losing out. He wanted to go. He wanted to go on the scenic. Scenic is so nice. And he's losing out. But then there's a different approach. I just want to spend time. I don't care. Wherever you want to go, go. Wherever you go is good for me. I'm not looking for the scenic, for my taste. I'm looking for you. You're going to smile there, I'll go bowling. You're going to smile there, I'll go there. That opens up a whole different relationship. The relationship is not based on what I appreciate. The relationship is based on your wants. That's what you want. And I'll be there. I'll be present there. I want to spend time with my child. It's wherever his world is, that's where I'm going to spend time. And whether it's a toy truck or a fire truck or a cement truck, it's all the same thing. Because the premise, that connection is not my taste. It's the appreciation that he has, and he is actually, I'm spending time with his smile is what's triggering me, not necessarily what I. This opens up a different connection. And I was thinking the other day. So in shul in the morning they have people that come for tzedakah, and usually when you give tzedakah, so there's you give for a cause, you appreciate, you give for a cause that you feel for. And so you probably you don't see this in Shachris in the morning. You have all Mishalachim come from Williamsburg, Borough Park, Stuka for this, all different causes. Sometimes you also have these guys that come, because every morning they come, they ask. So I was thinking, so on one hand, you can feel for a cause. Oh, this is Chassan Kala, this is Aniyim, this is Le'aleinu Yisoyim, whatever it may be, you can feel for a cause. So then you feel yourself. Then there could be someone who says, you know what? This guy was a nudge. He comes every day for tzedakah. I don't even know why he's collecting. But he's definitely a nitzrach. He's definitely someone that needs help. And it's a mitzvah of tzedakah to give him. So you give him just for the mitzvah. I'm giving him, that's like the father playing with the children, the toy trucks, just for you. I'm going to play it. Not because I enjoy it. It's not what I do in my free time to play with toy trucks. It's not what I do in my free time. But I'm going to do this for you. The ability to do a mitzvah just for him, that's the second sense of greatness. The more we flex that muscle, the more we open ourselves up to the same muscle with people. The same exact muscle. There's a muscle that we have. There's two muscles. There's a muscle of my taste palate, and there's a muscle of the other. The more we do it, it's actually co-relationship. The more we do it with mitzvahs, the more we can actually do with people. The more we do with people, the more we can do with mitzvahs. The ability for me to taste other and not only taste myself is exactly the same. And that's Perek Lamal. Perek Lamal is coming and saying like this. A Jew is opening up his day and he wakes up in the morning and he says, I'm not in the mood. Leave me alone. I don't, it's this, that. So we tell him, 1 second, wait. Do you know what's going on over here? There's a general who decided to pick you as a pilot. It's like that pilot in the day of the mission. This general invested koiches in you. He put you into this world. He gave you koiches until today. And he's deeply interested in you. And word deeply interested has a very deep connotation. A friend, an investor who comes to invest in your business is interested in your business. He doesn't ask you about your private life. A friend is a little bit more interested in you. A real friend is interested in your life. The Eibishter is literally interested in your life. He's showing, and who's interested? This guy who's the general, the chief of staff, like the guy who's in charge of everything. He's deeply interested in you. You wake up in the morning and the moment we pay attention that we're not alone, we're actually chosen to be pilots. And this is the game, and this is someone that really I don't get, and I'm never going to get. And even though I'm not going to get it, he chose to be interested in me. It's like that reciprocal feeling in a friendship. There's something. The importance we feel is not the importance that we get. It's the importance of who we are. He chose me. That gives a person. They say that there was a husband. He came out of jail, and he was in 770. Came out of Russia, and they found him the next morning. He went to the 6 o'clock minyan. He didn't come home. It's 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. The family was getting worried. Where did he go? 10 o'clock. They ran to shul. They saw him at 7:70. Saw him sitting on one of the benches. They said, should have been home. We prepared breakfast for you. He said, you don't understand. I was in Sibir. In Sibir, I couldn't say amen. Never said amen. I come to shul, 6 o'clock minyan, and there's amen, Yeshmei Rabba. I'm so excited. I never said amen until now. This is like so amazing for me. And guess what happened? After the minyan finished, another minyan started. And they started saying amen, Yeshmei Rabba. I couldn't stop. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't do this for such a long time. And you know what happened? After the 7 o'clock minyan, There was another minyan. It was an 8 o'clock minyan. I'm still here. There was a 10 o'clock minyan. The ability to tune in and enjoy the others once. That's the most beautiful thing in life. The ability for me to taste my once. That's nice. That's nice. The ability for me to actually get the other, that opens up a whole new level of connection. And I'll conclude with a story. It's a story that I share. I like the story a lot. And the story is with Mendy Futafas. And Mendy shares that when he was in Sibir, so Mendy Futafas, if you pay attention to the stories about him, it sounds like he went to Sibir and he went to like this he had a podcast there, like he was interviewing pickpocketers. It was a very interesting situation going on with him in jail. He came out like on a high, like all these different stories. By the way, that shows in a personality. That shows more than anything else. Like some people, I mean, to be in a place and to choose to be there and to make a podcast out of a place that you're forced to be there, that's an enormous personality. All these stories that he tightrope walkers. It's almost like he went on a trip. Should I tell you where I went? Tightrope walker, a pickpocketer. I have this story and that story, and it says these stories forever and never. Like, hello, you're in jail. You should forget it. Like people don't want to even talk about their time in jail. No, I have a pickpocketer. I'll tell you the stories. So he says another story. The story that he says was he was once roll call. Story about roll call. What happens at roll call? In roll call, they try to dehumanize you. That's what roll call really is. In the Nazis did the same thing. They call you a number, not a name. It's all about dehumanizing you. So he said that he. Don't ask. Every time I think about the story, it's like weird. He was watching this guy. After roll call, the guy went to the corner, and the guy would gesture with his hands. Now, I'm sure there were a million people there in jail doing all different kinds of weird things. But for some reason, Mendy caught his eye in this Mishugana. He went to the corner after roll call, and he went like with his hands, like he's gesturing and he's doing things. Is he a magician? Is he like the guys on the subway that you meet and also doing these gesturing? I don't know. Anybody here make a podcast and the guys you meet on the subway? I hope not. You know. But he's. It's a good idea. Okay, but be careful. So you know so he decided he is interviewing this guy. Because he didn't do it one day, he did it every day. Every day this guy would go after roll call to the corner and make with his hands. I need to know this guy's story. He's on my next list of interviewers. He interviews him. Tell me your story. So he did, tell me your story. So the guy tells him the story. What did the guy say? The guy says, you should know, I used to be a 5-star general. Stalin threw into jail anybody of authority. Rabbanim, priests, and generals. Anybody who of authority, that's the type of a dictator. A dictator doesn't like people of authority. It's a threat, so he threw them all into jail. I used to be a 5-star general. So when they threw me in jail, nothing touches me. Like nothing can scare me. I've been in battle. I've faced death before. It didn't tell you. I wasn't afraid. But there was one thing that happened over time in jail that shook me to the core. After a while, I started feeling like a prisoner. I started feeling like a number. They call you a number. And I started losing my confidence, my inner strength. And I said, I can't leave prison like a prisoner. I've got to leave like a general. How do I do this? I came up with an idea. After roll call, I walk to the corner, I close my eyes, and I remind myself who I am. I am not a prisoner. You know who I am? I am a general. And I visualize my soldiers. I visualize the pride and confidence I had in sending them out to war, immense responsibility, and the immense sense of leadership and strategic thinking that I have with that's what I visualize in the corner, and I actually send them to war and I talk to them. Then I leave that thought process as a general. Now I can start my day. You're not going to take my inner pride away from me. I remember I used to share the story as a glimpse in the story of a Jew. We're not prisoners. We're not shmegegis. We're not people that are just thrown under the bus. We're generals. The ability to recognize he chose me as a pilot. I'm not just walking away. A mitzvah means that the general chose me as a pilot. And he gave me a mission, and I don't necessarily ever understand the full extent of that mission, but that's precisely why it makes it important. Because I'm the one to execute it. It's dependent on me. He gave it to me. The sense of recognition that brings out in a person is a sense of importance and confidence. That's not importance and confidence because I know. It's importance and confidence based on his knowing. That gives you a different ball game of a playing field. It's like they say, the playing field there it's almost like, I feel like the pilots actually said this. I feel like I'm saving Am Yisrael. That's what the line. The feeling of importance from a mission is incomparable to the feeling of importance of taste palate. Feeling mission is so much more powerful than feeling taste palate. Says Perek Mem Aleph, every yid, when they have a down point, think of mission. Don't think of taste. Taste makes you down. Taste has ups and downs, like the stock market. It has an up and it has a down. Mission is the most powerful point in a person. I'm not somebody that has a taste only. I'm on a mission. I have an importance that can never be taken away from me. This is the thought process that can suddenly awaken someone. Someone that suddenly today thinks about themselves, whatever they think, the ability to say, stop, pause. It's not only what I know about myself, he knows a lot more about it. Think about it this way. When the general chooses a pilot, they know why they're choosing him. And there's probably reasons the pilot doesn't know why they choose him. That means your preciousness is not only from what you know, there's a lot more. It's like when the genius calls you and says, I want to talk to you. Why did he choose me to talk to? Because he obviously sees hidden koiches in me. He obviously sees something in me. So if he chose you, then you should appreciate a lot more of yourself than you usually appreciate. You should realize there's a lot more to you. What you know is only a small picture. That ability comes from one word, I don't know. I don't know myself. I'll never know my full strengths. But if he says that opens up a hole. So this perek opens up the second chapter in amazing. There's amazing that's nice, and there's an amazing that's beautiful. And the beautiful part is the solid rock. In English, they call it believing in yourself. That's perek mem aleph. Perek mem aleph is the ability to tell a person, believe in yourself. Someone believes in you. This melech, he believes in you. He chose you. He took you for that mission. Now, obviously, this is a thought process. But what I just wanted to bring out of here from the beginning to the end is that this is also in relationships. So no matter where you take it, whether it's a friend, or whether it's the Eibishter, the ability to start off saying, I don't know, allows you to actually pick up a different depth in someone and a different connection to someone. And with that, I will conclude. L'chaim v'levracha, l'sosen v'lesimcha, v'noyim amen. Okay, so anyway, I'll open that up to thoughts from you. Make sense what I said today? Or you were like Mendel in the jail watching this guy gesturing. And one day you'll have a podcast of why this guy was gesturing and what it makes sense. I'll be in the podcast. Okay. 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 Everybody gestures from time to time. That's how it works. The Rebbe Rashab was all about thinking Chassidus. The Rebbe Rashab is Pnimi, right? The Rebbe Rashab was all about, like I said in the beginning, what's the first thing that comes to mind with the Rebbe Rashab? Like when a person's, I said that when I had the Pekisha students, I asked them, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Chassid?
Oh, I can't remember that.
Yeah. So I was bringing out like the Rebbe Rashab, the first thing that comes to mind is the word Pnimi. Pnimi means real. Where are we real? Real thought is honesty. A lot of times we learn, that's why I just wanted to take this topic. A lot of times we learn, we're just learning words. A lot of times people get frustrated, like, where do you get these words from? I hear this a lot. Where did you get these words from? I said, well, you have to think. What does it mean to think? Think means look at the idea and not only the words. So Parak Mamala is not just words. That's why I gave the example of the apples and oranges before. And if we get the idea, we're going to realize this is really a deep platform where we can use it anywhere. You can use it in business. I saw someone, I said this to someone, he says, in business they say the same thing. When you really understand something, you can do it anywhere. Business, they say, good businesses, do you know how many businesses that are huge failed? Huge businesses failed. Do you ever heard of Kodak?
Yeah.
You know what Kodak is? You probably never heard Kodak. Do you know what Kodak is? You never heard. You still have films in the house? So Kodak was a film company, huge company. They went bankrupt. Boom. Why? Huge companies they didn't anticipate certain change. How could you not anticipate? So they said, genius companies listen to customers. They don't only create products to customers. And it's a huge difference. A lot of them know better and they make these things. Listening to a customer means that for an executive is humble. It's humbling, but that's where real products come from. And real survey is not giving questions to a customer. It's observing how the customer actually thinks. When you give a question, you're telling them to answer your question. Observing them is seeing how they actually look at your product. That's exactly this. This idea is a real idea all over. The ability to let go is the biggest bracha. And Perek Malach says that. Take a mitzvah and say, I'm not in the mood. What do you mean I'm not in the mood? If you're going to have a relationship based on the mood, if you're going to have a relationship to yourself based on your mood, a relationship to your boss, where's mission? Perek Malach leaves a whole new energy. Mission. Who am I? I'm not only my taste palette, I'm a lot more than that. That discussion unleashes a different. They say who's more powerful, a volunteer or an employee? So give me an example. Very good. So you said who said employee? You said employee. So give me an example with an employee and give me an example of volunteer. Let me ask you a different question. Who's more impactful, Hatzalah or EMS?
Or who?
Or what do they call themselves? The city paramedics.
Yeah.
What do they call themselves? Whatever. The ambulance services. They're employees. They're employees. Why are employees? They get paid. Why don't they do a better job than Hatzalah? They get paid. Because Hatzalah's mission. An employee is money. Money has a limit. Mission has no limit. Mission is the most powerful drive in people. When people put mission into a relationship, that's amazing. That's beautiful. It's not just my feeling. I have a mission to make them happy. It's a whole different story. Imagine you put mission into a relationship. I have a mission to make my friend happy. I want to help them out. Not only I like them, I have a mission. You know what that does to a person? When the recipient feels that, he generates that mission back to the person. Suddenly this connection is a whole different connection. It's a nuclear energy and not regular energy. Because mission means the person. What do you say?
As a shliach, I understand it very well.
Yeah, so it's the same as shlichut is mission. That's a different energy. And shlichut could be in anything. Could be a person in Kran Heights has a shlichut. They feel like they want to have a chnos zarcha. They feel like they want to have. Everybody has their, and you'll see, people have their area. But imagine we do this also in connections. Not only am I going to help am I going to relate to my friend, to the person to my roommate, to my parents.
What happens when people turn on you? This happens to me. Happens to me. Like they make it. You try to explain yourself, and they completely misunderstand you, and they start blaming. What do you do? You're supposed to still like be nice and like I don't want to be friends anymore. I really want.
But you said the word misunderstanding. But you said you said the word misunderstanding.
I have trouble hearing you.
You said the word misunderstanding, or you said the word purposely cruel?
I think that they don't want to hear. Like if I'm trying to explain my side or how I think. See, they're just completely not listening. Not like it's a blame. It's like you don't want to be friends when it's like that.
Okay. So your question is?
Not a question. I don't know. No, my question is is it possible
To save that?
I don't even like if I don't want to even make it better anymore. Like, what's the point?
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, and you tell me if that addresses that. I once heard from a principal who had a student that was one of those students that had a frequent flyer blast to their principal's office. You know, those students that have frequent flyers.
Yeah.
They're always visiting the principal. And so he was a troublemaker. Not in the mode of listening to the principal or to the teachers. And they had the same question. How do we get across? How do we bring him to listen? Like he's not listening. He's into the next shtick that he wants to do.
Right.
One time, this kid was waiting in line for ice cream. And they wanted the ice cream shop. Yeah, he was in the ice cream shop. And the principal was the one in back of him. He came to pay, and he didn't have enough money. He had short. He did. The kid, yeah. And he was like flustered. What is he going to do? So the principal, who was in back, offered to pay. And paid for that. So the child said, I'll pay you back. 1 second. The child said, I'll pay you back in school. So the principal says, no, I don't need it. What do you mean you don't need it? It's fine. I don't. Labriyut. Enjoy. Principal shares that the unanticipated moment, it basically caught him by surprise. It was a strategic, it was b'hashgacha pratis, but what that did is, it also taught a lesson, interestingly, how even when people put up guards of not listening, you can catch them unguarded.
Even
when people put up guards like rails, stop, stay away, so you can't break a rail, but you can catch them unguarded. You have to wait for the right moment.
I don't want to be.
No,
I lost my desire to.
I understand, but it's a response to them, and even if you would speak to them, they're not going to listen because they're not in the mode of listening. So this is what this story can illustrate is there's always a moment where if I have a connection, let's say this is your child and you don't have you don't have an option, right? So or it's someone that you feel dear, or someone that you do want to rejuvenate, you do want to bring chayas into that connection, right? So this is called nchudas kamayim hapanim al hapanim. There is now you have to put a face to the water. You can't, if the water is dirty, it's not going to happen. If the people are resisting it, it's not going to happen. You got to find a time when the water is clean and throw a good face into it. And then it reciprocates. So that's called a strategic kamayim upon it. You have to find. And then the reality is, heart, sometimes, you ever heard something from someone and it was like noise, it was like background noise? And you ever heard something from someone and it was actually like a feeling awakened within you? People say in camp, kids can say in camp that their counselor told them something and they just felt like they want to do it immediately. And the teacher told them for the whole year and they couldn't care less. So there's the Kamayim Apanim is a real place. When it comes from a space of purity, it enters the heart, not the ears. So if we find a moment where we're not responding, because if we're responding to the previous, that's not pure. So if we find a space where we can actually be pure and not respond, and in a place where the recipient is not in any specific mode, that's very powerful. That is a rule in connections, that when we do that, it's kamayim upon him, upon him.
It's basically like you give up because you feel like whatever I'm going to do, that it's just going to be the same again. Like, what's the point? It's never happened before. I don't know. It's not a good place to be. Like, it's stunning.
So this, it's not.
It's not like, how can you trust it? Like, if it happened like that, why would I put myself in that position again?
And then sometimes we have to also be honest. Maybe there's something that I can do. Often we blame others, and when it could be ourselves. Who knows? Maybe there's something that I said. Maybe there's something that I implied the other day, and I'm not being honest with myself. Who knows? No. So if it's the other person, then there's kamayim upon him. So you gotta, if. But there are always people who are. There's something called, in Chassidus it says, there's something called lev ha'evan. People that have a heart with a rock in it. And then there's a line that says you can inspire, but not necessarily will the person act on their inspiration. Sometimes people feel a tingle in their heart. That person was so nice to me, but I'm not interested in responding. You can't do anything about that. You can continuously be nice and rekindle that. Chances are, by a lot of people, the genuine feeling will have a reciprocate feeling coming back. But then there are people, for whatever reason, bury it. You'll hear stories from people that say, years later, they can call their teacher or someone that they knew and say, you know what you told me years ago is still ringing in my heart. And I started to act on it 3 years later, 5 years later. So, how hearts work is a mystery. But there is something called genuine. Lev, kamayim upon him, and that has a power to do something, and in a relationship, it could be impactful. Say there? Okay.